And welcome back to another episode of Day1Radio right here on Live Hip Hop Daily. I'm Maurice Garden, got my man Brandon Peters in the building. What's going on?
Ain't nothing, bro. Good to see you once again, man. You know, we out here doing the best interviews we could possibly do, talking to the best guests, most interesting guests.
Before we get into that, for the viewers and listeners out there, if you see our eyes shooting upwards, it's because the playoffs are on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So don't think we are, oh man, them niggas seeing ghosts. You know what I'm saying? We watching basketball.
Exactly. And it's, you know, it's that time. We know how this story ends for me. You know, diehard Golden State Warriors fan, always have been. We're going to have another championship come June. It's all good.
I'm going to have to agree with that.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, this is the first year in a long time that's actually debatable if that is unanimous outcome.
That makes it more that makes it more entertaining, man. That makes it more entertaining.
I talked to Draymond.
Yeah.
He said they can't wait to drag Houston.
Exactly. I don't think Houston going to make it past Utah, to tell you the truth.
Oh,
I don't think so at all. That's my upset of the playoffs, but dead serious. But before we get deep into our playoff talk, the voice that you hear is the one and only from Los Angeles, California, Big U, man. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
For sure, man. Thank you for coming through, man. Much appreciated, man. So, for those who don't know, man, Big U is a very reputable figure in the community in Los Angeles and very respected around the world. We're going to get a little bit into your background and what you're doing today as well. But born and raised in L.A., part of a very large family. I'm always curious to know because my mother moved from Texas to Watts. Grandparents been in California since the 40s.
Right.
Where did your family come from before they got to L.A.?
Mississippi. My father come from Jackson, Mississippi. My mother from Columbus, Mississippi.
Yeah.
By way of Chicago. They left Mississippi, went to Chicago for a couple of years. Then
and that's odd because normally the more east you are, the more you go up to Chicago, Memphis, or whatever. The more west you are, you go to California.
Chicago is the capital of Mississippi.
Straight up. That's very true.
Yes, yeah,
very true, man. So, what like you 51, 50?
51, yeah.
51?
52, yeah.
Okay, so like growing up in LA in those times, man, how was it for you? Because I think a lot of people don't really understand like the camaraderie amongst black neighborhoods, black families, and all of that back then.
It was like you said, exactly. I would describe it just like you said. It was so much unity, and it was so much about unity, about groups, about. We were the product of the Motown era.
Right.
So we were the product of the Motown sound, which means we did everything together. Everything was about being a part of a group, about a family. We even grew up in the Lil Rascal era when TV was about people doing stuff together and before the word
Little
gang,
Rascals in the syndication, right? You said you only 50, like goddamn.
But you know, we watched their shows. We were the one that was patting the shows too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it was different than it is now. Like it's so much of a rat race, and we've become so caught up in trying to get it and fight for it and compete about it. You know, compete against each other. I see it so much on Instagram. People talk about they got to go for themselves, or you got to be a leader. You got to be that, and I think that kind of like describes the age we in. Everybody out the womb, you got to go get it for yourself, and no matter who you're stepping on or who you're cutting.
Like visually, like what was the black experience like in LA at them times? Because like when you look through history books, like we kind of see what the Harlem black experience looks like. In some books, you may see what the Atlanta or the Chicago black experience looks like. When it comes to LA, it's like certain movies try to recreate that, but you don't really.
I can tell you that because. I'm working on writing a project, and it's called that I wasn't the son of Malcolm and Martin. We were the son of Superfly. So it's crazy because I'm 51, but when I can remember the era from when our parents went from the red, black, and green, the so-called Black Pride movement to when Superfly broke. And when Superfly broke, our families went from Black Power to now permanent hairs, won the Cadillacs and went to this mad pimp era. And you know, it was kind of like, it was crazy because we see an epidemic of heroin right now, but it was an epidemic of heroin pills back then. And then we seen the 80s gave rise to crack cocaine, which was a different abuse, substance abuse that we went through. So it was unity, but because of the unity that you guys were experiencing in the South and the struggle of Black Power, it wasn't as much in LA. You know what I mean? Because LA, even to this day, is still so predominantly controlled by Europeans in their workforce, in their police departments, in their hiring and government. They're still so dominant that they were so concentrating on stamping stuff out faster than they were all over the world. Like even in up north, in Berkeley, California, and you can see the difference. And not to say that you can see more of the South in Northern California than you can see in LA.
Yeah. I agree, for sure.
You can see more.
I mean, when I remember going to a school that was 40 minutes outside of Oakland, and white people asking me, was I from the South? Because of how we talk. And I'm like, nah, like what you talking about?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I could definitely see that, and it's funny because I always said coming here to go to college, like it's more overt racism there. The racism we deal with in California is more through laws and police.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You see a lot more of that. So I definitely see where you coming from with that. How were you first introduced to the gang culture, and did you come along in a time where it wasn't really about banging on other black people, it was more about protecting your neighborhood?
It's funny because I predate what we know
Got you.
as gang banging. Like Crippin was created in '69.
Right.
I was born in '66. So by the time it started spreading from the east side and going west, it was about the same time that blacks started going west. And blacks may have been going west a little bit earlier, but it was around that same time. So,
And he means the west side of LA.
the west side of LA, yeah, going from the east side of LA to the west side of LA. Like for instance, where I grew up at is called the '60s, and that meant if you went past Western at one part, Western and Normandy, it was like no man's land. Then they started seeing white flight, and white started moving out of what became our neighborhood, and on certain parts of the west side of LA, and blacks started going that way. So now you're about 71, and gangs the way we know it, and the way we look at it as Crips and Bloods, was just now starting to grow. The guys who actually came up with the term Crips was young, like 13, 14, and maybe 13 to 16 years old. So even in their minds, it was something new. It was about having something to hang out, having something to do, and something to claim and link up to. I'm being the baby of those. I'm the baby of that generation of dudes who named it. So that's like the Tookie, and it's like the Remy Washington Tookie and all them. I would be they baby. I would be they baby brothers. So being that they would be 7 to 10 years older than I am. So we was able to see them, and then by the time we got it in junior high school, it was in elementary and junior high school, it started changing in '79 to becoming more violent.
Gotcha.
So
like how did that get in the game? Like where did the violence get put in the mix? Like how did that happen?
I think like really what I can remember most is my uncle and them. First it was all about leather jackets, the way you dress, trying to emulate the Black Panthers. Then it came to a point to where it started becoming more, my uncle and them was robbing, and it was, mischief started coming out of kids just hanging with nothing to do. Hanging on the block, no jobs. I know what a major thing was when they stopped doing, I can't remember what it was that they used to do where, I don't want to call it a different name, but they had these programs where they would help kids to be able to go out and you can go hang out, like after school programs.
Yeah.
And they took the funding from the after school programming. And then that led the kids to go and doing and find other things to do.
Right.
Because they was for sure not going to allow the Black Panthers and the Black Panther movement to move into South Central LA.
Right.
Like in where we were.
Right.
So it was a major push and not to getting those programs in where we were in LA. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of the older brothers who was coming from, on that pimping, from that Superfly, they was not receptive to it. Gotcha. So it led us. We didn't have no choice, to be honest with you. Like, right. You was gonna hustle, get in the streets, and you was gonna do it fast. Yeah.
Did you, because I know, like, when you were young, you also lived in Chicago for a little bit, right?
Yeah, I got kicked out. I was already in the streets, though.
Right.
I got kicked out.
At that time, did you really, what were kind of in your mind, like, the similarities and the differences between the gang culture in Chicago and the gang culture in L.A.?
It was totally different. Where we were, they're getting to that now. Like, gotcha. They are that now. Like, when I went to Chicago, it was funny to me. It was funny to me because they thought we were what they were. They thought, like, I'm getting out of Central Juvenile Hall for a bunch of different crimes, and they would not release me back to California because of different crimes. I had been on the run maybe a year and a half, and I was 15, 16. Just I got shot my first time. So when they finally caught me, they couldn't find me guilty of the stuff they wanted to, but they didn't want to release me back to California. Right. So it was to my father in Chicago. When I get there, they asking me about Michael Jackson.
Because all of California is Hollywood.
Right,
and
yeah.
Other people
They asked me about Michael Jackson, Willis and Arnold on Different Strokes. They asked me about what was the people what reruns of pop lock and what's happening? I'm like, dog, you got LA, you got us messed up. I don't know none of them. I don't give a damn about none of them. I'm fresh out. I already been shot before. And I'm showing them old pictures of us with ARs, not MCs, but with all kind of high power, and they looking like. And what's funny was the way we dress to them in our Crip attire, being with the khakis and the hard shoes at the time. Right. We dressed up. They consider that dressing up. Mm. So when I first came to Harlem High by the Dan Ryan, they was like, and I had a Jerry curl, so they was like, oh yeah, you know what I'm saying? So it was different. But I'm like, look, dog, what we don't do is put these hands on you, though. Mm. Right. And then it was funny to me because they was carrying locks on belts. They was carrying locks on belts, and it was GDs, Vice Lords, and all of them all walking to school together. They all lived around the corner from each other, and they was, and they had to learn laws. And I'm like, the only thing I need to learn is how to load and unload. And it was different. It was so much more different than what they was doing out there. It was a culture shock to them and as well as to me. And so when I seen they break the projects down in Chicago, I see where their violence started to rise.
Yeah, that's definitely real. Fast forward a little bit, man. July 20th, 1992.
Bang me.
You got sentenced. 23 years for.
He actually sentenced me to 56 years.
Oh shit!
The judge went crazy. Yeah.
What was going through your head? And that when you heard that number, because you was young, you was still in your early 20s, right?
I was 22. Yeah. I was like, damn, they gonna be flying cars by the time I get out.
Wow.
And I was like, woo. But then I was thinking too, like, I didn't want to come out the same ignorant person I was when I went in, and because and then what really affected me was sitting in the courtroom, and it was my first time being in the courtroom going through a trial process and listening to these people talk about me in a language that was supposed to be English that I could not even understand.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And it was crazy because I'm sitting there and they're making me sound like, it was making me sound so bad, even to myself, I'd have found me guilty.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I'm like, damn. But them using the language and using the words that I couldn't understand gave me such a visual in being in out of body experience and saying what happens to black men every day. Yeah. We being put on trial, we being prosecuted, but we can't even understand what they saying about us. And then when I had called a case on the police officer while I was in there, and I went to go per to fight the case myself. And it was then that I started understanding the law and started understanding, but I already had been found guilty on my major case. And then just understanding the law, learning to shepherdize, learning what a black law dictionary was, which is dealing with their language, the language that's used in the courtroom, it opened up my eyes to word and studying and education, and I just swore it in that they'll never be able to do that to me again.
So you did all 23 of the years?
No, I ended up doing 13.
13. So, like, I remember reading a Pimp C article years ago when he first got out, and one of the quotes that stood out to me the most when he was saying he think jail actually kind of like saved his life to a degree, because like he got put in, which took him out the street and away from the shit that he was getting into. You're standing before us, a 50-year-old man out of that lifestyle. We don't get to see a lot of 50-year-old cats graduate out that lifestyle. Do you think going in for them years kind of like, can you apply the same logic to your situation to a degree?
I can't really apply it. I could say, because I had already started changing after like 90, like at the 89, no, not like 90, 91. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't want to say that it was, shit, if anything, I did the most reading and studying while in the hole. Yeah. More than, incarceration, because incarceration only works for the dudes who go to apply it, who go to get something out of it. And I definitely don't want people to think that incarceration is the way out. It's the decisions that we start making from early age, because I was in prison, man, with dudes who was doing the same exact thing. Mm-hmm. Getting high on the yard, doing all the bull crap on the yard, telling all the amazing stories, you know what I mean? And then it was just me going to apply myself to do something different. And that same, using those same applications on the streets can do the same thing for you. Yeah. In prison, it only gave me the ability to more downtime to read. Mm-hmm. But it definitely didn't remove me from the bull crap, because it was right there on the yard, ever present.
How did you keep your sanity while you was in for that time?
Man, keep 100. My sons and my wife. Yeah. Really knowing that. And then when I went to, it's always a good to a bad, but when I went to the level 4, so I went to the highest level you can get, and I think it was probably out of a couple of thousand people, it may have been only 7 dudes who didn't have life. Wow. And I was one of the 7 who didn't have life. So if you wake up and you're looking like,
I'm actually getting out of here.
Yeah. You got to find something to build on. You know what I mean? And then they'll let you know. They're like, big homie, you on your way home. So, I got anything you need, bro. Any phase, bro, you get out and you do what you're supposed to do. So it's a lot of dudes that's cheering for you to help you get home. It's crazy, because on the level 4, it's more people cheering for you to get home than it is on the lower levels as you go lower and lower, because then you get around the more bull crap. But when I was on the level 4, it was a lot of older dudes who was there, who was like, man, you got a lot of influence. You can make a difference. Right. You know what I mean? This only a setback, and really it was hard to look at, like, I got to do 10 years as a setback, 13 years as a setback. Right. But out of respect to them dudes, man, it was so much more education on the level 4 than it is matching the lower levels, and it's with the homies that know they ain't going nowhere.
Right. Serious situation. You mentioned your wife, man. You guys met when you were a teenager.
Yeah.
Like,
that's the boss. When
you went in, did you expect her to hold you down?
Hey, it's crazy, because when I went in, I hope she don't hear this, but but no, she can hear it, my mom did, but when I went in, of course, I'm like everybody else, I had a whole lot of options. Right. But she already had my 2 kids, so she was going to be the one that was going to win it. And I say this to people all the time, and it's for men, right? And I say this to brothers, and I would like to say this to them, is the difference with us men and women is a man has to understand that she's on my side. Whenever we come to the point that we understand that, okay, we in this together, so if I got $1, she got $1. Because we are taught to think from a mentality of abusive or dominance over women, so we tend to think that, man, she got to prove herself.
Right.
It might take 30 years before we realize that.
Damn, that's super real, bro.
She proved it herself. So with me, my mother then was like, nah, you don't need to get married. You're going to get out. We're going to do this appeal. And I'm like, but she got my 2 kids. Mm-hmm. And so it was at that point, and I mean, we already was making a life together anyway. Right. So then she was like, well, is we going to get married now?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you still want to get married? She's like, yes. And I'm like, well, let's do it. And I mean, and then even at that point, it was out, and even in our own ignorance as men, I was thinking like, damn, but then some said, you idiot, you in prison.
Right.
Like you got the winner.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. Just for me, but my little homie was telling me that we need to write a book. And I think in the book, that's it. It's like men don't commit faster than women.
Right. That's right.
But you know what I mean? And then when we commit, we always commit with strings attached.
Yeah,
like
caveats,
I want this or this and that. Yeah. But my wife was a boss, man. She held it down. You know what I mean?
That's incredible. Man.
She was lucky. I mean, I was lucky.
Yeah, that's super incredible. As I have read your story and heard interviews and everything, man, the thing that keeps popping in my head whenever I hear you talk, whenever I see certain things, is discipline.
Yeah, I have to be
discipline. Does that come from you studying martial arts for so long?
I was just gonna say, yeah. It definitely come from.
Which one did you study?
Kempo.
Okay.
I studied Kempo under BKF, and then we have our own school, BKKA, under Mr. Muhammad, Steve Muhammad. He was well, he used to be, I forgot his first name.
The Misters all that matter.
Mr. Muhammad, yeah. But yeah, we studied under Mr. Muhammad, which was the BKF system.
Okay.
And it was the discipline from him, and it's crazy because I would have to say that the first discipline came from my mother, because my mother she was a single mother, and she had 5 kids that she was raising, me being her oldest son. But even before that, it was my mother and my 2 sisters and me.
Gotcha.
And she was always pushing a line on me to be responsible for my sisters. Like, whatever you do, it's gonna come back. I can always remember her saying that. And then my auntie then would talk so bad about my father, I was scared of this guy. So I used to be like, damn, whenever I meet this dude, I don't know if I gotta get off on him or what, you know? Because I would always, when you get in trouble, I'm gonna send you to your father.
Yeah.
You this, you doing bad at school. Or it was something like, anytime I did something bad, it was like, I was like him. So, and I think that's what women do to kids and not realize that you are putting, you're kind of you're putting a stigma on your kids on a relationship with his father. Like, and so I grew up with that. Then I grew up also at the same time, not liking nobody in sports or whatever I did who had a father. So,
damn.
So I say this, and it's very important for women to understand that when you remove the father, whatever the condition is, out the son's life, you take the risk of making your son into a bitter person. Because I was bitter, and I was bitter towards relationships or anything that was I could see with somebody else had a father or even knew their father, because I didn't know mine. And I think that made me go harder in the streets, because when it came to situations where I may have had a conflict and I needed the father's hand, influence, or touch, or I seen my sister or mother or something, then I had to become a father. Now here it go. When you got a 7 or 10-year-old kid realizing or starting to think, well, I got to take care of my mother and father. I got to take care of my brothers and sisters, or something as simple as somebody cussing your mother or getting at your mother in the store. Now you got to step up. Right. So now you doing something when you remove the father away from that child. And my mother, unbeknownst to her, did that because he was in Chicago. I was out here. I didn't know him. So I grew up, man, I didn't like nobody who had a father. I felt like you was spoiled or you had whatever we didn't have. And if we played any sports, anything we did, I was going to line you up. But then I went and met my father later on and found out all them stories wasn't true.
Right.
And that's what's crazy. Because I take care of my father right now to this day. Like he lives with me. And he don't live. I pay his rent. He lives. I moved him from Chicago to LA with me, because when I finally did meet him, he wasn't the person I grew up hating.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Wow. That's powerful. That's super powerful.
Yeah, but that's something for these women they need to understand. No matter what the situation is or your relationship is with your baby father or whatever the situation is, he's not no male donor. If he's trying to be a part of that child's life and you taking that from him, you know what I mean? That's it's definitely not right.
No, I agreed 100%, man. You talked a lot about reading and gaining knowledge, man. Did you write a lot when you was inside too?
Yeah, I wrote a lot when I was in there. I wrote books, I wrote movies, I wrote plans on, I wrote school curriculums to teach while I was in there. We used to do a male wellness class for homies that was going through and trying to teach them how to deal with prison. I had wrote a whole course on and the first thing on the course was don't watch daytime TV.
Why is that?
Because I don't care who you think you are, if you are in prison, and this I'm telling you in prison, if you watching Maury Povert, all of that other stuff, by the time your girl come visit you, you gonna swear she done did something with everybody. You gonna swear she did something with, I mean, and it used to be, and I used to tell brothers all the time when they fresh in, like, don't watch it. Don't watch no daytime TV. Don't put it in, because you are what you eat. You know what I mean? And you are what you consume. And that stuff used to have a major effect on brothers.
Shit, that can go for cats that's just at the house with no job too. Y'all don't need to watch that shit either.
No, for real. No, for real. No, it really does. It really does. I mean, but in prison it was even worse.
Yeah, even worse.
You know, and then you're gonna get that Dear John letter. And when you get that Dear John letter, like Johnny got your girl and gone.
Yeah. That's tough.
You want to kill somebody?
Right.
But yeah, no, I wrote out pretty much all the stuff that I'm doing now. Like, I had wrote out a business plan. I wrote out what I wanted to do with Develop an Option. I wrote out that I was gonna get back in music. I actually started doing music before I came home with Kurupt. And
Right, tell us more about Developing Options. You know, so you just said it, but tell people exactly what that is.
Yeah, what we do is it's a community resource program. We don't actually have a center yet, but what we do is I do any and everything we can to help our community be better. One of those is one of the programs we have is a sports program, where one of my philosophy was when I was younger, because I knew when I was a better person, I was in sports. Mm-hmm. And that meaning that whenever I was in sports and I was focused on sports, I had a weight to the world. And even if I knew I wasn't the best athlete, but I had time away from bull crap. So we have a sports program, we have a tutoring program, we just now implementing a writing program for the kids, and I got these book programs that we're doing where we get the kids to read, and you get $20 per essay that you write. We're using certain books, just some motivation to give them $20 they can have. For sure, you got $20 to go to school with, this week.
Right.
So you ain't got no excuse. Your mama can't give it to you. All you gotta do is read and write this essay. And that's something I want to do nationwide, with all of the different athletes from each city. So how I want to structure it is I want the athletes from each one of these cities to adopt a city. You could put $20,000 and give a couple of different schools the ability, when these little kids read an essay, get an essay up, they get $20. That would not hurt nobody. But that's one of the things that we do. Then we have had the most success with our intervention program.
Okay.
And so since I've been home in 2004, we had joined the mayor's office in the efforts to curb gang violence. And we came and put our different spin on it. And with that, we started hiring. I have 11 people that work for me under the gang intervention program. We have 23 people that work for us under Developing Option. But in that, we were able to hire cats from different gangs to be who were spokesmen, or let's say, they call them OGs, whatever have you, but people who had a like mind, so who can come to the table and still have influence in their neighborhood. Get them the checks to go back to their neighborhoods and represent, you know what I mean, and help guide them in different directions.
Yeah, because I want to ask you about that, because being in this position that you're in, would you say that the work that you're doing is more so peacekeeping among gangs, or gang prevention? You know what I'm saying?
Well,
it's a combination of.
It's both, because I learned, and then it's crazy because now we got to. I learned in prison that most of the guys who are so-called shot callers are not the guys who are causing the problems. It's the young fellas on the yard, on the streets, who getting into the conflicts, causing the problems, and then it goes to the rest of the community. Right. And then you're in a situation where you're in a quagmire where you're going to support your team.
Right.
Now, this same exact thing happens in our houses. You got a little brother that's just stupid, and you don't even like being around your little brother sometimes, or your cousin, or whoever is related to you. And you like, man, you know he gonna go out and do something stupid. Mm-hmm. You know it. Because he just got through taking something from your partner his phone was playing a video game in the house. Why you do that? And he been doing that since he was little. So it don't matter if he a gang member or not, the way he conducts himself is gonna be counterproductive to what everybody else is trying to get to. Right. Now you have a gang. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So so what I do now is I want to be the beacon of what we can be. Mm-hmm. So that's the reason why I never call myself by my real name, Eugene, or go and just call me that, because I want kids to understand that Big U is the same name I was when I was younger, making stupid decisions. Now Big U is the same person I am right now, making the correct decisions. Definitely. You know what I mean? So it's not in the name. It's not even in the affiliation. It's in the choices that we make today.
Speaking of like names and affiliations, like we hear the term like OG. It gets thrown around a lot now. You know what I'm saying? At one time, it was like, you know, you knew exactly what it meant. Right. You know what I'm saying? But like in 2018, just over the last few, you said you don't even know what that shit means. So it's like to you, like, what does that term actually mean, and what is it supposed to mean? Because we see a lot of quote unquote OGs out here still doing the dumb shit. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. Maybe we need to come with a new saying. But even when I was 24 on the yard, and everybody was coming to me, I'm like, nah, I ain't making no decisions. Mm-hmm. I'm just involved. Whatever we got to do, we got to do. But I really believe that it goes all the way back to us as youngsters. It predates us where we are now, and it predates gang banging, and it goes to where we are right now. Like, look, this is how we judge each other. It's us three right here. We on the block. A car passing by. Guess what? The downest one is the one who's gonna run past the car in the street. You gonna be logical and say, hell nah. I'm gonna say, nah, I'm gonna try it and go halfway. But you gonna do it and run across the street. Now guess what? Guess who the downest one is? He is. Right. Because he ran across the street. But he just did the most foolish thing to life known. But guess what? He the down one now. Right. And it trails all the way into where we are today.
Bad decision.
It's whoever is the stupidest person. Now, guess what we got now? We got a lot of stupid dudes, or the leaders, or the people who represent them. Yeah. Instead of the person who was smart enough to say, man, why are we doing that? Why don't we just let all the cars pass by, go across the street, get everything we need, let them pass by again and walk back. Right. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's where we are today. We still following the most ignorant person with the most ignorant decisions in the room.
Right. How is the expansion of the program going? I know you started doing some stuff right here in Atlanta, right?
Yeah, I'm opening up. Let me say that we still going through things because, like you said, some people see me as a part of the problem. And it's easier to see Big U as a part of the problem because of the growth and how people spend. But instead of people looking at what I do and looking at the fact that right now in California, gang violence in California is the lowest it's been since 1967. Cripping started in 1969. Our violence in LA right now is the lowest it's been since 1967. You can pull it up and it's documented. You know
How long has that trend been going downward? You know what I'm saying? I know like in the mid-2000s, shit got kind of wild.
I came home in 2004.
Yeah.
I've been doing this work since 2004. And it's definitely attributed to the work that I do because almost all the time, we got a team on the ground, and it's not just my organization, but it's other organizations that has teams on the ground that's reaching out to other dudes to stop shit that's going on. You know what I mean? And it's the stuff that, it's not the stuff that we create, because if you go look at Big U, you ain't hearing about me saying, let's go propagate this, let's go do that. I embrace dudes who believe what we believe and who came, but I don't see nothing wrong with that, but I do say this, I want them to be able to say, I own several different businesses in my neighborhood. You know what I mean? Why don't you own several different businesses in your neighborhood?
Right.
I don't make money from hustling. You know what I mean? I make money from doing certain things. My new group, my music, OSB shit.
Yeah.
Right? They not on that. You know what I mean? So you got to kind of see what we putting out there.
Right.
But I still will post a video or some of my little homeboys who ask me as a favor, you know, help me do this, homie, because it's still somebody trying to do something positive.
Right.
So, and it might be offensive to some people at some point. I'm not going to stop doing it. You know, I got certain organizations, churches and all that hit me and said, well, you know, we looking at your page and we scared of your page. Well, you're going to have to be scared of my page, because I can't do the work that I'm doing if I'm not dealing with the people that we trying to heal.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, how can I do that? How can I go talk to people from the streets if I did what you guys did? Alienate myself, made myself untouchable. If I come to Atlanta and don't go to the neighborhoods where my little homies at, or where anybody homies at, guess what I am now? I'm the same person that they don't want to listen to.
Right.
I mean, do it make sense on some level, or maybe I'm the crazy one?
It makes perfect sense. What can people do, like that hear you talking about this or that see you out? What can people do?
I got
to help?
one. I always say this, and I hate to break you off, and I think this is something that we all should concentrate on. If you want to stop gang banging, if you want to stop the violence in the street, if you want to do it in 4 months' time, you can stop all the violence in the streets. You know who you do it with?
Jobs.
No. The black church.
Break it down.
Very simple. Everybody in that black church has a child, son or daughter that's gang affiliated. And at this point in 2018, you know it. When my mother and them, we was young, my mother and them couldn't identify what a red rag and a blue rag was. But at this age, you can identify and you know if your kid is on the bullshit or if your kid is not on the bullshit. If you're a member of a church and your best friend is a member of the church and her best friend is a member of the church and so forth, guess what? Do not your grandkids come by the house to see you? Do not your son or somebody still live in the house? Do they not have a car in your name? Do they not have a such and such? Guess what? It starts right there. You don't need nobody else really to keep it 100. Because my mother was in the church. And when I was at my worst, my mother was the only one that told me, like, you know, look, I'm really getting fed up and I don't like going to the church and hearing your name and all this. And that was the first time I was like, ooh.
And they were saying your name in church.
Yeah.
Goddamn,
it was kind of rough out there. It was writing my name on the walls.
Oh, wow.
But and I mean, to be honest with you, be honest with you, bro, it was my mother, like, you know, when it was getting to that point and she was like, you know, it was that. So now imagine this. Here go my point. The army is right here at your church. Those ladies in it. I'm not talking about going out and marching in the streets and trying to, you know, no photo op and saying you're going to shut neighborhoods down. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about who don't love their grandmother.
Right.
Who grandmother and all of these grandmothers can't go to you and say, you a part of this? Why ain't y'all coming to clean up this house, clean up the neighborhood? Why y'all not joining these organizations? Why y'all not doing this? You understand what I'm saying? Right. I mean, and when you leave here today, you're gonna go back and you're gonna think about it like, wow. That's where.
No, it makes sense. Because if you don't got respect for your mom and your dad, you definitely got respect for your grandmother.
Oh, for sure. And if it's enough grandmothers,
right?
If it's enough grandmothers pulling the babies in, like, look, wait a minute. You out here and you a part of this and you destroying this and you doing that? Why? That ain't how we raised you.
That's true.
Now, guess where the power comes? Once your grandmama said to you, and mine said to me, and yours said to you, guess what? We didn't hit all of them. It's only at the most on any game in any city at the time on the streets is no more than 1,500 members on the streets, free.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? And then in some cities it's less than that. It may be 30. It may be anywhere from 30 to 100 at the most.
Right.
You know, that's active and involved in the streets. It may be 1,500 members all the way around. So now, if it's that many people in these churches, 3,000, 6,000 members in these churches, 4,000 members in these churches. But now listen, let's get this correct. I am in no way saying it's the fault of the church. I'm saying that
the church should step up more and do
not
something.
should. I don't want to say that either because I don't want to get nobody's business. I'm saying that this is a tool that they can go use.
They can.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Because I'm not saying what nobody should do because I'm not the most perfect person.
Right.
And I totally support what effort the churches make, and I will come help and support. So in no way am I saying that the churches are responsible, that they should go do anything, but it's an idea where I know it's a bunch of influential people are. You know what I mean? Even if they don't realize it, they do have the influence just to influence their own kid. You know what I mean? And then you influence the one you can, and she influence, you know, and then now you reaching out.
Definitely. Switching gears a little bit, man. I saw this video a while ago, and I always wanted to ask somebody like where this came from. What was the story behind it? With you and Suge playing ping pong in the backyard.
It was at my house.
Yeah, like, cause it was the oddest shit to see. Like, just like okay, cause you and I do.
And he was cheating. He was cheating. Did you watch it?
I did watch it.
He was cheating, and then he had just gave my son a couple $100 right before I came outside because I already had beat him earlier.
Yeah.
And then when my son, I went in the house. I don't know why did I get the ping pong? I don't know what we was doing, but he already gave my son some money. So my son's like, Dad. I'm like, man, what? You just seen the ball not hit the table. What are you talking about, Dad? It was, man, he was cheating. He cheated the whole game, and I still won.
That's hilarious. Did no? I know you and Kurupt go back forever.
Yeah,
so did that relationship come
from Kurupt? Yeah, it came from Kurupt. But it was calculated because when I came home in 2004, Suge and Kurupt Suge and Snoop was beefing, and LA was split. Mm-hmm. So it was on the verge about to be in this Crip and Blood war, continuing to go, and some of my homeboys was over here with Suge, and the majority of my homeboys was Snoop. So then now here come Big U. So it's like Big U finna come home because everybody didn't know when I was coming home. They knew I was on the way home. I was in the hole. I was in the shoe. I just did 3 years and 9 months in the hole. So I got out the hole 21 days before I was coming home. So it was kind of like, boom, he about to come home. And so everybody was like, he finna be with Snoop, he finna be with this. And I'm like, but my mind was already set towards helping the streets. And this was before I started doing the gang intervention. So when I came home, I sat down with Snoop and I sat down with Suge. And I started moving with Suge with the intention to make both sides come together. And that's eventually what we ended up doing. Although they didn't do business together, they came together. And then after my time with Suge, I left and went and got with Nipsey.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then, because really, to be honest, y'all hear all these stories about Suge, bro. He loved Pac so much, man, he really wasn't on music no more.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't have no love for music.
I always tell, and I didn't meet Suge during the Death Row times, but I would run into him in Vegas like all the time, like to the point where we recognized each other when we would see each other. And I was like, you know, people say what they say. I don't know, but I've never had a negative experience with that dude.
Now, I'm going to say this, man. I'm in music right now. And really, to be honest with you, it's a cutthroat business.
Definitely.
And it's not no lot of honesty. And somebody who is brutally honest don't really got a place in it. Because as you guys know, you in music, you at this table, you done seen where most people come into music to get on and to get on. You know what I mean? They come in like, how long is this contract? How long am I going to be with you? Blow me up, make me famous, but I want to get on and do something different. Like, whoa. And so, like, nigga, won't you go do that on your own? And you go fuck with somebody who's trying to ride with me the whole ride. Like,
right.
You know, but that's the era of the business, you know what I'm saying? And so, Suge was dealing with that.
Yeah.
It was basically like, just to keep it 100, you ain't got no Snoop without Suge.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's
you don't
right.
got no Dre with Aftermath, but without Suge. somebody came with the idea, and somebody helped to go put it together. Then he came and got Dre, and Dre put Snoop in them deals. So if it was some messed up deals in the beginning, Suge wasn't the one coming and going and say Dre was.
Right.
So both of them should be suffering the blame. You know what I mean?
That's super real. You brought up Nip earlier, and I know you guys have had a kind of a roller coaster relationship to an extent.
Nah, we 100.
Y'all good?
We like everybody else. We had spats. We had a spat, which only one, and that was like it got blew up.
That was a long time. 2011, I think.
Was it 2011?
I think so. But
nah, it was. No, it was longer than that, wasn't it?
I don't know. I think
it was about 2011.
It is 2018
right
now. Like
2018 now.
Time does go by.
Yeah, that was 7 years ago because the album just came out.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Well, that's definitely good to hear, man. Because I know for a while.
Yeah, I just did the whole tour with him. We just did the whole tour together.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's what's
It wasn't a while. It wasn't. It was pretty much. I don't mind talking about it. That's my little brother. I love him to death. You know what I mean? And he like a son to me and all that. But I mean, like everybody else, you're gonna always have misunderstandings. I'm sure people that had misunderstanding with their mama, daddy, brothers, and sisters.
Definitely.
We ain't no different than nobody else. But the problem would be if we weren't together. If we weren't able to have whatever we had and be back together. But what people don't realize is we weren't even mad at each other a month. You know what I mean? That happened. We aired it out, and because I was already not in music, you know what I mean?
Right.
I wasn't moving in music. I kind of was dabbing in music, but after our relationship is soured, I already left music. And then there was some things that was going on that I didn't like and was brought me back just to deal with that situation.
Gotcha.
But it didn't bring me back to music. You know what I mean? And then along the way, it was other people coming and asking me to get involved in music, do this and do that. And now I'm just now back in the music.
Gotcha.
So what is that? Right before we did Rap Niggas, if you can see, we did the whole thing. I went from we're in the hood. I didn't do the hood part. I just went to New York, came out here, and we did all that together. You know what I mean?
Dope.
So the world would see that, you know what I mean? That we did all that
That's
together.
what's up, man.
I'm on his album. I mean, I'm not on the cuts, but I did all the intros, all that.
Yeah.
He got a whole nother Nip got 100 songs. I mean, I'm not exaggerating.
So we won't have to wait another 8-9 years for an
He
album.
got some stuff he can drop right now that's amazing.
Dope. Good to hear. But man, we want to keep it current for sure, man. And your group OSB is in here, man. We about to go to a quick break. OSBS. But I thought it was OSB was on some bullshit.
Right. But it's already a group, an older group that was called
okay,
OSB.
Gotcha.
So we always say OSB, OSB because we can't say shit.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we say, so people are cut off to say OSB.
All right.
Which is fine, but we trying to get it tag correct.
Gotcha.
So it's OSBS.
Gotcha.
Unless we can say shit.
Well, you definitely can. We finna go to a quick break, man, and we gonna come back and talk to the fellas from OSBS.
Right.
All right. So we gonna